right. Good morning. Quick show of hands. How many people are frustrated you lost an hour of sleep last night? That's kind of bad. You guys are the 11, okay? It's like, that's probably, no, I'm just kidding. How many people get frustrated? I keep asking you to raise your hand and no one ever does it. That's the first time I've seen some guys like, yes, please stop that. You waste time. We don't want to listen to you that long. Fair enough. If you're watching online, so glad you guys are with us. We do want to get serious. We're talking about frustration issues this morning. We're in continuing our series in John 16. Next week, Aaron's going to take the last one, and that's also my anniversary. So if you want to send me a text and tell me amazing, whatever, none of you care. I get it. Okay, it's cold. Move on. So what I want to give you, just get right into it. The big idea this morning is with frustration is simply this. When Jesus doesn't follow my script, I get frustrated, okay? So it's the reason I'm putting that out there for you guys, because I'm trying to get you, before we get into John 16, we're going to be in like 8 verses today. Before we get there, I want to help you guys kind of understand why, at a deeper level, why you're getting frustrated. And you say, well, I don't even believe in Jesus. Well, fair enough. When life doesn't follow your script, you get frustrated, right? And what I've learned in my life is I have a script for my life, which means, I'm here right now. I'm 45. At 50, I'm going to be here and doing this. At 60 and then 70, and I've got a good script planned out. And when something goes against the script, I get agitated. What I've also learned, this is fascinating, I also, my wife's here, God bless her, I also have a script for her. Did you know that? I have a way that she should handle things, the way she should do things for me. It's crazy. And you know what? This is crazy because she's an amazing human. Sometimes she doesn't follow my script. And it's frustrating, right? And all of you married people know this. But I'll go a little bit deeper. I have 2 kids, both sophomores in college, both at the same school in Kentucky. They're on spring break right now. And I will tell you guys, I have the best script for them. I know, I've been there before. I can write the plan out for them. They listen to none of my script. Okay, if they're like in a writer's meeting, I hand the script to them, they just rip it up, burn it. Dude, we ain't listening. You're out of touch, out of sight, out of mind. Fair enough. But that's what it kind of is, this concept of when life doesn't go my way, not according to the script that I've written in my head. And I get frustrated at work when people don't follow my script. When I walk in and say, all right, guys, in 2 months, this is what we're doing, best idea ever. And they all kind of look at me, like 8 of them, like, whatever. We're planning our Easter. This is a side note, personal. We're planning our Easter this past Thursday. And I'm telling them what I'm doing, and I'm waiting for people to be like, yeah, that's fire, right? That's amazing. I'm waiting for people to applaud. I thought, I'm not asking for much. I thought it would be cool when I finally told them the Easter plan, I gave them the rundown, that they would like stand up and slow clap for me. And they're just like 2 are talking. Someone came in to measure something. Another lady left. No one cared. Right? That's frustrating. It's frustrating when things don't go to suit. So first idea, and I want you to kind of get this in your mind, and Matt McClone, his wife Cassie, amazing people. Matt and I meet every Tuesday with another guy named Jimmy. He was here at the 9:30. And so we're at McDonald's, and this is last year. He's coaching a minor league team, and at the end, Bailey has to leave, and Jimmy has to go to work, so it's just me and Matt. And Matt's telling me the story. And he said he had a kid. He said didn't get a lot of hits in minor league, and I think it's coach pitch, whatever. And he said, but we get like to the end of the season. This was like the game before the last game. Anyways, he said he gets up the bat, he hits the ball. If you know anything about baseball, you're at home, first base, third base, and then there's lines, fair and foul. Well, he hits the ball, and I guess when he hit it, it was like on the line or outside the line, but then it rolls in. Well, they're all yelling, run. And said as soon as he hit it, he just said, but it's not fair. Well, everybody's yelling, run, run, run. You got to run, go nuts, and he just stands literally in the batter's box, doesn't move. Well, this little kid, it's the little kids, it rolls back in. He grabs it, turns and throws. Probably took 10 minutes to get it to first. They probably chase the ball. This kid doesn't move. He just waits. And then finally, he takes off running. Well, he gets in the dugout, and Matt said, I looked at him and said, listen, whether you think it's foul or not, you've got to hustle. You've got to run. And he said the kid doubled down on him. He said, now he's kind of angry. He said, but it wasn't fair. It wasn't fair. And he was like, so you quit? Yes. You guys hearing it? You quit? Yes, because it wasn't fair. He said, we had other kids even up to bat while they're batting. He's sitting in the dugout by himself. And he just keeps saying in his head, but it wasn't fair. I open with that because I want you guys to realize there's a danger in you getting in that mindset where you're like, but it wasn't fair. I didn't think that he was going to leave like he did. But it wasn't fair. No, you didn't tell me that I was going to be in children's hospital for this long period. No, but it wasn't fair. If you're not careful, you can do exactly what that kid does, but it's not fair. So why should I try? Why should I move on? I should just stop right where I'm at. But it wasn't fair. So with that concept, because I don't want you to quit in your frustration, I want to give you kind of how this works. Just a couple quick ideas. The first is this. What's frustrating? Formulas are frustrating when Jesus doesn't follow your script. Okay, formulas. Now, why did I say formulas? I taught chemistry and physics for several years, and I can tell you, being a science guy, I like science, that I love formulas. I love one of my finals for a PChem class, actually, physical chemistry, at Marshall. Am I flexing a little bit? I'm trying to. Yeah, none of you care, right? Whatever you do. But I remember our final literally was this huge board. And it was one calculation for the final. Took like 2 hours, right? Just covered the whole wall. But formulas I like. You know why I like formulas? Because it's like, okay, this is A, I plug in A, and then that's going to equal B plus C. So then I calculate that. You math people, you know you love it too. Why? Because I know whatever I put in, I get out. Right? It's a formula. But here's the bad news, guys. Life doesn't work like a formula. Jesus doesn't work like a formula. They don't. There is no. Now, here's the thing. You're like, but Trent, I don't understand. I'm trying to be a super nice person. I'm being really generous, really nice, so everybody's going to love me, right? I be super nice, everybody loves me. No, it doesn't work like that. You know, you can do all the right things, and guess what? They still may not like you. It's just kind of how life works. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be super healthy. I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to drink a gallon of water every day. I'm going to wake up early. That's A, good. So B, I'm never going to get sick. Right. Now, all these things are going to help, obviously. You can control that. But that's not how life works. That's not how God works. Jesus isn't a formula. And here's what we do with religion. We're like, no, I'm going to show up. I'm only going to miss maybe 2 Sundays every month. Right? So I'm going to bat 50%. That'll be good. And then I'll show up a bunch, and then that way God gives me what I want. I do this for God. God gives me this. Right? It's a formula. But that's not how it works. And if any of you have lived longer than 12 days, you know. That's not how it works, is it? There's times you're like, that's way off script, and I didn't deserve it, and it shouldn't have happened. Yes. It doesn't follow a script. So in John 16, verse 16, Jesus is getting ready to go to the cross. He's getting ready to die. He's trying to set up his followers for this frustration that's going to happen. And they not only don't really know what's going to happen, they are not really catching what he's laying down. So he says this. He says, in a little while, you won't see me anymore. But a little while after that, you'll see me again. Confusing. Some of the disciples ask each other, what does he mean when he says, in a little while, you won't see me, then you'll see me again? And I'm going to the Father. What does he mean by a little while? Jesus, can you please add us to your Google Calendar? Can you just literally invite us in? We'll accept it. We want to know your schedule. And they say, we don't understand. Now think about this. Why don't they understand? Because they're like, wait, what do you mean you're leaving? We know the Messiah is supposed to come, and he's going to take over Rome. He's going to take over the world. And since we're your 12 followers, we'll probably be like the 12 commanders and governors. It's going to be awesome, Jesus, when you take over. We can't wait. We're part of the in crowd. And he's like, no, I'm getting ready to leave. Wait, how can you? We haven't even started an army yet. We haven't done all the necessary steps to take over Rome. Right now, it's just literally a handful of us, 30, 40, maybe 100 max. We got to do more. He's like, no, I'm getting ready to leave. You see, that's frustrating because that's not the script. We want you to come as a conquering king, but you're coming as a suffering servant. That doesn't track. That doesn't add up. We're frustrated, Jesus, because you're not following the plan we wrote for your life. See, that's what frustration is. I get frustrated when life starts writing a different plan for the script I've already written. I get frustrated. So, formulas are frustrating because Jesus doesn't follow them. The second one is this. What feels like an ending might actually be an opening scene. The Next Level teens had a Next Level at Night here. It's been a few years back. And in the middle of that, Aaron was up here, and he was talking about Avengers. Anyone like comic movie stuff? Anybody? Weirdos, whatever. I'm just kidding. You're like, see, we finally raised our hand, you put us down. No, not into that. My wife, my kids, none of us can get into it. But he's up there, and I think it's Endgame. Is that maybe it? But he's talking about it, and I'm like, we're over here watching the kids, and these kids are into this. Oh my gosh, it's in game. And about that time he shows like a purple guy or something. He has on like a glove, and everybody's like, oh. And I guess he destroys the world. I don't know, something. I'd never seen it. I didn't care. But I'm watching this, and I'm like, it's so hard to follow something when you get thrown in the middle of it. And I want you guys to understand this. I think for some of you, you're so locked into this moment and this frustration that you can't see anything around it. And it's confusing. It's confusing. Look what he says, moving on. Jesus realized they wanted to ask him about it, so he said, are you asking yourselves what I meant? I said, in a little while you won't see me, but a little while after it you'll see me again. I tell you the truth, you will weep and mourn over what's going to happen to me, but the world will rejoice. You will grieve, but your grief will suddenly turn to wonderful joy. It will be like, good illustration, a woman suffering the pains of labor. When her child's born, her anguish gives way to joy because she's brought a new baby into the world. Now, I was talking to my guy Carl as he was walking in, because I've been thinking about this week with childbirth. Two kind of funny childbirth stories. I've never had a kid, okay? But I actually watched my wife give birth to both of our kids. But my first experience of really childbirth was when I was like 12 years old. My parents would go, they all were friends, they all would hang out. And I remember he would torture us, right, all the time, torture us. Like, he had the most sadistic games for me and my brothers, like, hey, let's play the game, where you get slapped in the face. It's just like, it was terrible. He had a hallway game, I remember it was full tackle, right? And Carl was he's big, we're tiny, so she's like, this isn't really, this is you getting the mall kids for free. Well, anyways, I remember this distinctly. We're at his house, and in the VHS, it's like popping out the old VHS. Kids, don't worry, look it up. VHS, and it said Baby. And I was like, what's that movie? He literally is like, oh, it's not a movie. That's when my sister was giving birth to the first kid. And he says this. He says, my mom has a copy of this, and she watches it. And she literally says, it's the most beautiful thing. He said, it's not. It's horrific. But here's the best part. He said, want to watch it? No, he puts it in. So I'm a 12-year-old watching. His sister's here right now. It makes it more awkward. I watched it, okay? I watched her whole birth. Amazing. I take it back. It was beautiful. Love the baby, okay? That happened. And I just thought, think if you just took that. Think if you just took one scene. My wife, when she was giving birth to Tayden, our first, I remember she was going in, and they're like, okay, we're getting ready to take you in the room. Our family hadn't gotten there yet. It was just me. And I lean over and like, you doing okay? And she has panic on her face. And she's hurting really bad. And she said, I can't do this. What do you say as a husband in that moment? What's the encouraging thing? I literally said, it's too late. That ship sailed. It's happening. And she's like, well, could you quit drinking a Mountain Dew and eating Slim Jims? Like, okay, I get it. Fair enough. But true, if you just watch one of those scenes, that's what Jesus is saying. If you just take your life and just pick that scene, you're like, oh, it's horrific. And it is. It's horrific. No one wants to go through that. But he's like, you got to understand, even in your frustration of pain, I'm doing something. When they kill me, all of you are going to be so frustrated, so freaked out. But hear me, something good can even come from the worst possible pain. It's not just pain for no reason, it's pain for preparation. And I want you to understand that through frustration. So let's think about this. What you think might be the ending scene might actually be God saying, I'm just getting started. Right? That's good news. One of my best friends, his name's Brian. I've coached with him for years, hang out. We still hang out now, even both, not coaching at the same place. And I remember, I like him just because he's like a guy's guy, always like just cool, doesn't say much when he does, usually funny, great guy. But I remember about 6 years ago, I thought, we almost ended our friendship in a conversation. I'm not kidding. You're like, what did he say? Was it about politics? Nope, don't care enough about that to do that. Was it religion? Nope, still wouldn't have bothered me. Oh, so you put down your wife and said she's ugly? Said your kids are dumb? Worse. We're in the middle of talking, we're eating, and said something about a good movie he'd seen. I was like, yeah. I was like, of course, Rocky IV is the greatest movie ever made. And he just laughed. And I was like, what did you laugh for? And he was like, I watched Rocky I. I thought it was good. The rest, I won't watch. They're cheesy, ridiculous. And I had to stop, and I said, hold on a second. Are you telling me you think Rocky IV? One, you haven't watched it, and two, you think it's cheesy? He's like, oh, you mean a guy taking on Russia, and it's the Cold War, blah, blah, blah. I was like, I can't be your friend. Like, this is too far. You got to say I'm making this up. No, it was like, it bothered me. And I was like, so you never watched Rocky 2? No, I won't. Stupid. I like the first one. That's the only one. Now, why am I telling you this? Because I went through all the stages of grief with my friend, right? It was like denial, angry, acceptance. But I remember getting in the car. I'm not making this up. I was like, I feel sad for him. You know why? If you quit when Rocky loses in Rocky 1, he gets beat. He went the distance, great, but he lost. You know what you miss out on? You miss out on Rocky 2. Remember when she had the baby and goes in the coma and she can't speak and they're waiting and Rocky's kind of giving up and then all of a sudden she wakes up. You guys remember that? If you don't, I'm going to walk you through it. He literally, Mary leans over and she's like, come here. She wakes right up, which is so not made up, but she's like, come here. He gets real close and she says, when? Right? You remember Mick sitting there with his head down? He hops up. What are we waiting for? Remember that? He doesn't, because he's never seen it. He never got to see Clubber Lane. How tragic is it when you're literally your trainer, your livelihood, you get beat by, of all people, Mr. T. And your trainer dies on the same night. That's horrible, isn't it? And he puts down your wife? God, that's terrible. But here's the worst part. He has never got to experience Rocky holding Apollo, who just died in the ring. Guys, this is all realistic stuff. He loses a lot of people in his fights, but he's holding him. And remember Ivan Drago, the Russian? If he dies, he dies. Which is like, they're probably not giving a microphone after you kill somebody, but they do. It's awesome. What do you have to say? He missed all that. You know why? Because some of us, and there's the danger back to, it wasn't fair. You got to be careful that you don't get caught in a scene and say, oh, that's all I need to see. I'm out. What you think might be the most frustrating ending part of your life actually might be the opening scene to something way, way better. Sometimes frustration makes us quit when we're actually just in the beginning. So to give you context to this, before we finish this up, I'm gonna be a kind of a church nerd, okay, a Bible nerd for a second. But this book, the book of John, there's four guys who followed Jesus and wrote about his life. We call them the four Gospels in the New Testament. Well, John was one of those. So this is the book of John. But see, John didn't write this as a journal. Like, he wasn't sitting with Jesus. He's like, hold on, wait, what'd you say again? Oh, you said, okay, sorry, I just missed writing. No, he didn't do that. Actually, this is several years later. Several years later, as he got a little bit older, he sits down and just writes through everything he saw Jesus do in his life. I fully believe John wrote this for us because he's like, look, we were frustrated too. But if we would have thought about it, we know the end. But we also know there was moments where he handled frustration in a completely different way. For example, John 11. Now, if you don't know anything about John 11, it's just 5 chapters earlier. Jesus, this is interesting, Jesus was really good friends with Mary, Martha, and Lazarus. It was a guy and his 2 sisters. He loved them, hung out with them. They were some of his followers. And literally, Lazarus gets sick. Jesus is out of town, and they're like, man, someone's got to go get Jesus because he has to come back. He's the only one who can save our brother. He's sick, and he's about to die. Now, here's what happens. Lazarus dies. Jesus doesn't show. Day 2, Jesus doesn't show. Day 3 doesn't show. Gets to day 4, and literally comes back. Now, there's something neat about that. In the Jewish culture, Jews believed, that your soul hovered kind of around you for 3 days. So Jesus waits till 4, so it's completely done. It's over. Now, I want to show you a verse. Okay, this will mess with all of our theology if we're honest. Look what it says. It says, now Jesus, on his way back, Jesus loved Martha, her sister, and Lazarus. So when he heard that Lazarus was sick, he stayed where he was 2 more days. See, you didn't feel that because you're not thinking it through. See, we could read, Jesus didn't care about them, so he stayed where he was. Or it should read, so Jesus loved Martha, her sister, and Lazarus. So as soon as he heard Lazarus was sick, he ran there and made a beeline to fix their problems right when they asked him to. John, why did you write this? Because John wants us to see something. Jesus completely loved them, but he didn't do what they needed in that exact moment. He didn't follow the script. Now, let me tell you why this is dangerous. Because when you get really deeply frustrated with God, the first thing you're going to do in your mind is say, he must not love me. When you go through something that really sucks and it's awful, you will turn at some point. I remember our son, when he was born, going through all that with being deaf. I remember literally praying, going through, I'm down to the chapel. I prayed by myself, God, please. I remember praying, God, you've got to fix this. I was begging God. And he didn't. And you know what I thought in that moment? Can I just be real honest with you guys? You're giving so much better gifts to all these people I don't think deserve it. I deserve it. Just being honest. And you are not coming through. You're nowhere to be found. See, John wrote this for us because he said, look, even when you think he's nowhere to be found, that doesn't mean he doesn't love you. Yeah, he waited. But it wasn't because he didn't love them. It's because he operates on a different timeline. Now, I want to share a story with you that I was telling my wife yesterday, and I even got a little bit emotional. Yeah, and there's a video of this. There's a funeral in California, and I think it's a Presbyterian pastor. And I've read different things about him, and he ends up losing his son tragically when he was young. And this is actually the video of the funeral. And this pastor, they said, was the nicest guy. Like, he was that most gentle, never a cross word, would never say anything out of line. He was just the person, and you're like, gosh, they are just amazing people. He was that guy. We lose his son, and he's sitting in the funeral right in the front row right there, and another pastor, preacher, whatever, is doing the service. And the pastor says, during the service, he says, and we know it was God's will that Josh passed away. We know it was God's will. He says that, just that. And this man who almost in grief can't even, like, he looks like he's about ready to pass out, he yells. He yells. Like, it's dead silence in there because, like, he never yells ever. And what he says, I can't repeat because my wife always made a rule for me a long time ago. If I ever cuss in church, I'm not allowed to come back, okay? So I'm going to PG it. And then some of you are like, dude, when I say the word, some of you will be like, with me, like, I don't think that's a cuss word. Oh, the H word, who cares, right? It doesn't matter. But here's the point. I sleep with her, so she gets 5,000 votes. You guys get 0 votes, just being honest. So I won't do it. So I'm going to PG it in just a second. But he yells back, so it was God's will that Josh died. And this guy in the front, with all of his energy, yells in the crowd like it was. Like heck it was, but he doesn't say heck. He yells like it was. And then he pauses and he says this. God was the first to cry when my boy died. God was. Now, some of you here can be like, Trent, I like that because it feels all ooey gooey for us, but can you back that up? Well, if Jesus was coming to earth so we could see what God was really like in the flesh, if Jesus is God in a bod, then notice what happens right after. Jesus gets to the sisters and they're like, you're late. It's too late. It's already 4 days. It won't work. John 11:33 says, a deep anger welled up within him. And then verse 35, then Jesus wept. Jesus literally sobbed with these two sisters. So please, if you don't get anything else today, you can leave if you want. Don't, in your lowest moments of frustration when God seems distant, equate that to he must not care. Jesus didn't show up for several days. And in the middle of that, they're like, he must not love us. And he gets there, and before he even brings, if you know the story, if you're a Bible school kid, you know, literally, he brings Lazarus back to life after 4 days. So why did he cry? Because he looked at the pain. He felt the exact pain they felt. See, I don't want some of you in here to be like, okay, I get it. Jesus doesn't follow our scripts. That means he doesn't care. No, when you're hurting, when you're struggling, he literally says, I feel it. I cry with you. I hurt with you. I struggle with you. Why? Because he literally is with us and in us. So here's the last part. Last point. Say it quick. Funerals are frustrating, but Jesus ruins every one of them. Funerals are frustrating, but Jesus ruins every one of them. That's the good news. Look what he says. So you have sorrow now, but I'll see you again. Wait, are you going to die? I'll see you again. Then you will rejoice, and no one can rob you of that joy. At that time, you won't need to ask me for anything. I tell you the truth. You'll ask the Father directly. He'll grant your request because you use my name. You haven't done this before. Ask using my name, and here's what you'll get. You will receive, and you will have abundant joy. You will have abundant joy. You see, they didn't get it because nobody gets it when you're in the middle. None of us get it when we're in the middle, right? It doesn't make sense. Jesus ruins funerals. He flips endings. He doesn't follow formulas. That's the beauty of following Jesus. He doesn't do any of those. He ruins funerals. He flips the script, and he doesn't follow formulas. That's who the Savior we follow is. But in your lowest moment, he feels every bit of your pain. On your greatest day, he celebrates right with you. That's what it means to follow Jesus. So I was trying to think about this concept, right? When my son, Tayden, was 4 years old, and my wife, she's here, she'll verify I'm not exaggerating the story at all. He had his very first T-ball game on a Saturday at Ironton Little League. And I know he was amped because at 4 years old, at about 5 a.m. in the morning, we wake up, he's not in his bedroom, he's fully dressed as a 4-year-old, glove in hand, hat on, cleats, pants, everything, sitting on the couch. No TV on. He's waiting for it. Are we ready? Game time? Is it game time? And I walked back in the other room and looked at my wife and said, we're dead, because it's pouring the rain outside. And this guy's not going to get it. So we waited about 7 o'clock. We had to call, hey, we're canceling all the opening game days. We'll move it to the next day. So I walk into this 4-year-old fully ready, right? And I said, hey, bud. We're buds, right? Don't murder me in my sleep. I said, hey, listen, they canceled your game. And he's like, he probably didn't know what canceled me. I was like, you're not playing today. He loses his mind. He went nuts in the house like a tornado. He's just losing. He came out, he's like, I want to play today. Like, there's no games. We'll drive you down there. Nobody's there. He lost his mind. Now, why am I telling you this? He was so frustrated. One of the most frustrated times I've ever seen him as a kid. He's 21 now. If you bring up that moment to him, you know what he'll do? He'll laugh. Because 95% of our frustrations are funny when time passes. 95% of the stuff you guys in here are freaking out about, you will laugh about one day. I think about all the dumb stuff I did in high school, in college. Oh my gosh, this is such a big deal. Why am I not so You can get in line. Now I look at it at 45, I'm like, it's laughable. What's frustration? 95% of frustration will be funny, I promise you, down the road. But I got to level with some of you here that your frustration will never be funny. Your frustration has never been funny. And 100 years from now, if you're still alive, when you think of it, you will be broken and your heart will break. Because, see, you heard me say all this stuff, and you're like, okay, I get it. Maybe my marriage, maybe there's a fear for marriage, but God's telling me there's more. Maybe there's someone coming. That's going to be good news. I get it. My kid's sick, but God's a healer. He's going to heal him, and that's going to be good news. But some people in this very room and people in the 930, for a fact, because I've been with them, walked up to the casket, a funeral they should have never been at, because it wasn't their parents, it was their kids. And they closed the casket, and guess what? Jesus didn't roll him. And he didn't say, all right, 4 days later, back to life. The funeral ended, and everybody left, and they're by themselves. So Trent, honestly, I'm just being honest with you guys. What's really the good news in that? My daughter, Tegan, her first year she was at Shawnee, and she was in an apartment there. She stayed with my niece, her cousin. And she called me at 2 p.m. one day while I was here. And she's frantic. She's losing her mind. She's, Dad, you got to do. She's going through. I'm like, slow down. What's up? Did you wreck? Something bad happened? And she was like, she said this. She said, worse. There's a demon or a homeless man in our apartment. She said that. And I'm like, I'm getting off here, whatever. She's like, no, listen to me. She's like, I'm telling you, my niece, her name's Jocelyn. She said, Jocelyn and I set up with butcher knives on the couch all night. We can't sleep. Because there's a room in their apartment that was kind of like sub-locked and you really couldn't get in. And she was like, we just hear whatever's in there. It's a demon or it's a homeless guy ready to kill us, and he just makes noises all night. And I was like, what do you want me to do? Call my brother. Call your dad. I'm trying to get out of it, right? We can't get a hold of him. So I end up at like 2:30 driving to Portsmouth, and I'm ticked. And I get in there, and they're frank. They haven't slept in like 2 days. Nuts. Butcher knives. I'm like, okay. So like I can't get in the room. I end up like busting it open. I go in. Long story short, there's a cracked window, been busted. There's wind blowing through. I'm like, look, guys, that's it. That's it. There wasn't a demon, and there's not a homeless man getting ready to kill you. But I thought this would be a good teaching moment because I like to talk a lot, right? So I was like, listen to me. Can I break this down for you? Just say it was a demon, Jossie. That's my niece. Now, I got to be honest with you guys, as I got my deep like dad moment to talk about like faith over fear and all that, my daughter Ari is back on Snapchat, okay? I don't want you to think like she's a 20-year-old like, Dad, what is it? She's over there literally like, who's this guy? I'll snap him. Like she's going through her phone. But Jocelyn, she's in. Jocelyn, she was in. She was like, because she's been so scared. And I said, think about this. Say it was even a demon. I don't know if that works, but say it was. Do you think God's bigger than that? She's like, yeah. I was like, then you don't have to be afraid. Do you think God can't protect you? She was like, yeah. I was like, then you don't have to be afraid. I was like, look, anything you think about, God's bigger than that. She literally went, oh, you're right. And she paused. And she said, unless it kills us, then that's the end. And she thought she had literally laid out a royal flush, didn't she? She thought she dropped the 4 aces on the table and said, what you got? And I literally just smiled at her. Smile. Why? I want you to see this today. I want to give you a quick picture, and I know you're like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? But I just want you to see the concept of how Jesus, God, sees things. And I think this can help you in your moment of frustration. So here's what I want to do, okay? I'm coming to you. Come on, pound. There we go. Yeah, come on. You got a hard job, okay? I need you to hold this. Stand right there and hold it. All right, give it up. Give it up. Awesome, okay? Keep it up. I'm hoping this works. Okay, I want you to see. This is C3 collared yarn. Okay, C3 orange. No one cared about that? I went to Hobby Lobby. Thank you. Yeah, $1.99. Quite expensive for yarn. Anyways, okay, here's what I want you to see as we close. We're literally going to pray right after this. My niece said, but if it kills you, it's over. Some of you in here that literally saw the casket close, there's no resurrection. It's over, right? Death, yeah, I get it. I'm protected in life. My kid can get healthy. I can get remarried. I get it. My kid can get out of rehab. Those are all good. I love it. God can do that. I believe it wholeheartedly. But what happens when you close the casket and then they bury him? What do you do with that? The reason I wanted to do this is I want you to pretend like for a second this from her to me is eternity. And what I did this morning before I came here was I took a piece of this yarn and I cut it. And I kept cutting it till I couldn't cut it anymore with scissors. It's so small it flies away. It's in this bag, this baggie, okay? What if, imagine this with me before we pray, what if Jesus said, this is eternity and this is your life? Now, I get it's frustrating. I get it's tough. I get you're going through stuff. But if you could see what I could see, that when you're in me and I'm in you, this is what you've got to look forward to. And all of this, as bad as it is, all of this is more amazing than you could ever imagine. So I get you're frustrated. I get the coffin closed. But what you don't understand is that person ain't in a coffin anymore. They're waiting on you to be next. That's the good news. But this isn't accurate. You know why? Because this is literally on stage. If I wanted to do this accurately, I would tell her, get in your car, drive, I'll hold on to this side. I need you to drive to Florida, tie it around a post, drive to California, tie it around a post, drive up to Canada, hit Alaska, come down, get on a boat, head to Hawaii, then I need you to go back to Europe, across. We'd have this string everywhere, and then I would say, you know what your life is? It's an atom of yarn. That's what God says you're looking forward to. So hear me this morning. You can just drop. Thank you. You did great today, by the way. You're much better than the first person. Sure. So as we close, just hear this, okay? Because I get it. I get looking in the faces of people in this room who have faced something so horrific that when I think about it, it breaks me. And I get what you're saying. You're like, yeah, I get all the other things can be restored, but death doesn't get restored. And this is where Jesus looked at them and said, I'm getting ready to go away. I'm going to die, but you'll see me again. Why? Because Jesus overcame death, so death can have no power over us. So as we pray, my niece, she's feeling it, she's getting confident. She said, but if it kills us, then that would be the end. And I smiled, and I said, if we all really believe this stuff we claim to believe, then it's just the beginning. If we believe it, then it's just the starting point. And that's the hope we have. That's the hope you can have in Christ. God says what you think was the final exclamation point, I'm just getting started. We're not even in chapter 1 yet. We're literally in the table of contents of your life. And you can take frustration and realize, even in this moment, as much as I'm hurting, does Jesus feel it? Absolutely. Does he not care? He cares more than you'll ever know. But Trinity's not fixing my situation. I didn't say he would. But I promise you this, he promises to be with you, and he promises that one day, the worst day you've ever had will mean nothing to the greatest eternity you can ever imagine. So here's what I'd like to do. Let's pray for just a second. If you guys would, just respect for everybody else, we'd just close our eyes, bow your heads if you want, but let's close our eyes. And here's what I'd like to do this morning. Some of you I know personally have been through a lot. Some of you here I know are frustrated. I get it. Maybe it's something with a kid. Maybe it's something in a relationship. Maybe it's something with your job. Maybe, I get it. You're frustrated. But as we pray, I need you to hear just 3 real quick things. Hear this. I probably should have just said this and got us out of here. Number 1, you're frustrated because life is not following the script you wrote. But you need to understand today, it may never do that. 2, in your darkest, lowest frustration, know this. When you think God is a million miles away, he's literally weeping with you. That's who God is. And 3, more than anything else, when we realize the speck, the vapor that my life is. Oh God, please help my kids and help them excel and be amazing in all the things they do. And that's all great because I love my kids. I want that. But when I think about the speck of this compared to what's promised, eternal, then I can step back and say, I don't have to be so frustrated in this moment. Matter of fact, because of that, Jesus, you can turn frustration to joy, abundant joy. So nobody looking around, I'm going to ask you real quick because I honestly want to do this. I mean it. Had a ton of people at the 9:30. If you are frustrated right now, you're struggling. You're wondering where he's at. You're wondering what's going on because the situation, maybe you started coming here hoping it would get fixed and it's getting worse. God, where are you? If you're struggling today, if nothing else, I just want to pray for you. Would you just lift your hand? I'd love to just pray for you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Several people, thank you so much. God, I pray for the people in this room who raised their hand, who could say, could you pray for me because I'm frustrating, I'm struggling, I am starting to question where is God in all this? Pray for those people, God. I pray that you would remind them before you go to fixing anything else, you would remind them the most important thing they need is you. And you promised to never leave us, forsake us. Pray for those people. I pray for some people in this room who, not even because it's cheesy, they wouldn't raise their hand because they've already given up. They quit at Rocky 1. God, I pray today that you would encourage them and remind them what they think is the ending might just be the beginning. And I pray more than anything else as we walk out these doors, God, that we would be reminded of your amazing love. You don't love us like we love others, situational, or if they deserve it. You love us unconditionally. Thank you for that amazing love. Let us be reminded of it in our darkest moments. Jesus, you even said this as you were going through the cross. God, why have you forsaken me? Because in our darkest moments, that's how we all feel. But we know you have a plan. And we know our problems, our situations, even our very own lives, in light of eternity, we can relax, we can chill, we can take a deep breath. Because we would not believe how amazing the story is getting ready to be. Thank you for that. Jesus, we thank you for your amazing love. We thank you for the sacrifice you made so we can have life. I pray today, some frustrated people, if nothing else, would be reminded that you feel every pain, every hurt right beside them. You wept. Thank you. We ask these things in your name, and amen. Guys, hope you have an amazing week. Be back next week for Aaron for week 5. I've got William.
I just took a break, okay, and now it's back to work.